Well, I think it's really a combination of two things. It's number one, the commitment from Howie Roseman and the Eagles organization, really even Jeffrey Lurie. They decided a long time ago that they were going to invest a lot in the offensive line. They were never going to allow the offensive line to be the reason that the team couldn't achieve their goals or hold them back. They've invested a lot of resources. I mean, even just drafting Cam Jurgens in the second round this year is another example of the Eagles investing resources constantly in the offensive line. And I love it because I'm a former offensive lineman, but you know, Joe, I do a lot of games, right? I do a lot of NFL games on the radio for Western One, and there's a bunch of teams, man, that they really have no shot. Some of them right from the start of the year, and other teams, it's like as soon as one guy goes out, they lose one tackle, the next guy comes in, and he can't play, and it holds the entire offense back. So I think they realize that they don't want to ever be in that situation where a guy gets hurt and the season's kind of over because you can't function along the offensive line. Number one is the organization's commitment to making sure that they invest the resources in the position. And number two is just Stoutland. I mean, Stoutland, their O-line coach, is a stud. I think it's really rare, by the way, and not talked about enough. This guy, to my knowledge, had never been in the NFL before Chip Kelly brought him from Alabama. I mean, if Chip Kelly has an Eagles legacy, it's that he brought Jeff Stoutland to Philly because Stout's as good of an offensive line coach as there is in the NFL, and he had no NFL experience before before he came to the NFL, and he is so good. And they've gotten so much out of some. I mean, first of all, Kelsey's playing better now than he ever used to before Stoutland. Lane's playing at a really high level. The way he's developed Mailata. But to me, it's even what he gets out of Herb, what he gets out of Jack Driscoll. You know, he has consistently gotten a lot out of guys that I'm not sure they would get that much out of him. You know, to put people like, oh, he's a good player. You know, Pryor. I mean, he finds a way to get the most out of guys. Impressive. Such a great question, Joe. You know, I had 9 offensive line coaches in my NFL career, if you can believe that. 9. And what I would tell you, position coaches in general in the NFL, and offensive line coaches in particular, they make a big difference there. I mean, there was a big difference between the best O-line coach I had and the worst. Part of it is from the standpoint and making sure all of the guys are well prepared for every situation and know what's coming and don't make mental errors. Part of it is technique, and some of that is not letting guys, you know, let their technique get lazy. Sometimes it's letting guys do what's best for them, right? And I think if you watch Stoutland, he doesn't treat all the guys the same. There are some offensive line coaches out there that they want everybody to do it the same. Well, if you watch, Lake Johnson is a lot different than Mailata is. You know, the guys, Stoutland figures out what's best for each of the guys with their individual personal technique. I can give you so many examples of players that were way better or way worse depending on the position coach. I remember one year in Buffalo, Joe, our running backs were horrible in pass protection. I mean, they never knew who to block. They never knew the right guy. The next year, we got a new running backs coach. It was the same guy. It was McGahee and Travis Henry and the same guys, and they were on point. I mean, they were on it. And it was the only difference with the running back coach. A lot harder than people think it was. A lot. And you're talking to a guy that was a jack of all trades, master of none. I got playing time, whether it was preseason or regular season, at all 5 offensive line spots, and started games at all 3 interior spots. And it's like anything else. It's muscle memory, and it's getting comfortable. So I often think, Joe, how good maybe could I have been if I ever just was able to stay at center, or if I was ever able to just stay at left guard. Because it's like anything else. I mean, I don't know. Everybody, you got people listening or watching that maybe they're a carpenter or electrician. For the most part, the more you do stuff, the better you get at it because you figure out the best way to do it for you. And you get more comfortable because you've done this, you're a plumber, and you've done this like 500 times, and you're used to it, right? That's not the deal. But as offensive lineman, when you're moving around, it's hard to ever really get comfortable. I actually got comfortable being just somewhat comfortable at every spot. But the guys that can just stay, like Lane Johnson, stand. I'll give you an example. You know, Dillard is pretty good at left tackle. You know, he's pretty comfortable there. When they put him at right tackle, he was very clearly very uncomfortable. Joe, you're missing one, bro. Milton Williams. I think Milton Williams is going to be good. You know, in limited playing time last year, you know, I get excited about guys, so sometimes I got to just relax a little bit and let them show what they can do. But last year in the preseason, you know, I do the preseason games on TV. I thought Milton Williams really flashed, and then all during the year, he didn't get that many reps. But when he did, he made the most of it. I think, you know, I think Milton Williams is going to surprise people this year because I think the attention is going to usually go to Fletch or Hargrave, or sometimes, you know, you almost have to double team Jordan Davis. I wouldn't want to try to block him as one man. So I think Milton Williams is going to be able to be fresh. You know, maybe he only plays 20, 25 snaps, and I think he gets a lot of one-on-one. I think he's going to do something with it. You know, I can tell you, he went to Louisiana Tech. He switched from DN to D tackle. You know, by far the biggest jump in my career was between my first year and second year. My first year, I was just kind of happy to be there and happy I made the team. When my second year came around, I was like, I'm the biggest, baddest dude out here. By the way, I wasn't, but I just thought I was. Like that was my mindset, right? Like I'm the biggest, baddest dude out here. I'm as good as anybody. That was my mindset. And I hope some of these second-year guys, like Dickerson, like Milton Williams, you know, even Kenny Gainwell, I hope they take that next step, and I think some of them have a great chance to do so. Well, they're definitely, on paper, better than last year. And I would say they're probably a piece better than last year. You have Jalen Hurts going to his second full year as a starter. You bring in a guy like A.J. Brown. You bring in Hassan Reddick to rush the passer. Jordan Davis, Jacoby Dean. I mean, they clearly upgraded James Bradbury at a number of spots. And they're better at a number of spots. So I think they're better, and I would say probably by a decent amount. The thing is, though, Joe, they stayed very healthy last year. Very healthy last year. And that always makes me a little bit nervous because those things have a way of evening out. Now, the 3 years before that or whatever, they were ravaged by injuries. So maybe last year was the evening out. But the odds are they probably don't stay as healthy this year as they did last year. And that's, of course, something that can have a big-time impact on a season. Check me out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Even I'm on TikTok now, at Ross Tucker NFL. Would love to hear from you guys. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. And then, as Joe mentioned, I got a bunch of podcasts. The Ross Tucker Football Podcast is pretty much every day. And then if you're into fantasy football, I got a fantasy one called Fantasy Feast. If you like to bet, I have a very popular betting one called Even Money. So the key, though, is follow me on social media, and you'll be able to see all of them. Really appreciate you having me on, Joe. It got me, I'm telling you, man, you're open. That got me crunk. I was ready to go. I was like, oh, I'm going on this guy's show. I just announced the Eagles thing. You shot your shot. You reached out. So I wish you nothing. I wish you nothing but success. Keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you having me.
Everywhere, this is for you.
Yeah. Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season head, early time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.